Hey, everybody at the Holistic Cancer Support Summit. Thank you for being here with me. And thank you to Lynn and to Gwen for pulling together all of these resources of different modalities that you can do to support yourself or a loved one through this journey with cancer. If you listen to my husband Ted talk on Chinese medicine, Qigong, diet, exercise, you know that one of the things that we both agree on is that there's not just one way to address or help support somebody as they're going through this journey. In fact, there's many, many things, and it doesn't mean that you do them all, and it doesn't mean that you don't do any of them. There's no one right answer. I'm going to be talking to you today about the importance of color. And you might not have thought of color as a tool in your cancer battle, but truly, color is more than what we're just seeing with our eyes. Now, let's take a step back for a moment. If you listen to my chat with Lynn about the power of nature in our homes and the power of nature to help our body support the healing process, we talked a little bit about color and the personal healing colors for your body. So I'm not going to repeat that because you've heard that already, but I want to dive a little bit deeper into exactly what is color and why it might be important. As I introduced myself before in the chat with Lynn, is that I am a teacher of interior alignment, instinctive feng shui, and 7-star blessing space clearing, which is a long way of saying I help people with their homes, create their home to be a healthy and vital and healing template for their life. And many times in feng shui, people go, "Oh, I want to call in my soulmate, or I want to create more abundance, or I want my perfect job, or I want to heal the situation with my family." Here's what I'll say is that if you don't have your health, a lot of those other things are not the top important thing. And if you're here at the summit, you know that. It also means that there's so many of these other aspects that can have an impact on your body, your emotions, which might also be impacting your ability to heal and restore. And so all of the different practitioners who are here at the summit work in different realms, right? They might work on helping you with meditation to help with your emotions. And there might be therapists who help work with relationships with your family because those kinds of emotions might be fueling some of the things going on behind the cancer. So there's so many different ways to approach this. Interior alignment was created by Denise Linn. And if you haven't heard of Denise Linn, well, I highly recommend her. I would say go out and check her out. She's a very prolific author, writing books about a lot of different things. Lynn has taken the Red Lotus Mystery School course as well as I have. And Denise comes from a background of being severely injured at one point in her life. And so she did all the Western medical stuff, but it wasn't really helping her that much. And so she was continuing to look for what are the other modalities? What are the other things that I can do to help my body heal? In fact, she was so severely injured from a gunshot wound that they didn't think she was going to live. So she was working with a lot of different problems. And along her journey, she found a massage and a healing touch kind of massage, a massage that was provided by a wonderful woman who in Hawaii was a Hawaiian kahuna, who then did incredible work with Denise. And then Denise was like, "Oh, I want to learn this. I want to be able to do this with others." And so stepped into learning this healing work. And from there, learned Reiki and was instrumental in bringing Reiki, actually, some of the first seminars in Reiki over to the United States. And so she was very involved with energy work, energy healing. And she was so good at it that she was booked for several years in advance. And she started touring the world teaching, right? Because she wanted to share this knowledge because you can't hands-on teach work with everybody. And so she's teaching, she's traveling the world, she's got clients everywhere. But what she's finding is that some people have profound healing from this work, but then 6 months later, a year later, they're back in the same situation. And she was thinking about what might be the reason for that. So one reason that she started working into was the emotional aspects. What kind of emotional aspects or ruts in thinking are we in that could be causing our emotions, which then changes our body chemistry, which changes the way the chi flows in the body, all of those things. But then the other thing she noticed is when she would go to people's homes to do house calls to work with them, she noticed the energy in their homes. And this energy in their homes was contributing to part of the reason why they were continuing to have physical issues. And so she started really studying, what do all these different healing traditions do in a home to clear the energy? She had been taught things specifically to clear energy or reset or create a feeling in the healing space. But what do they do in the homes? And that's her journey that took her to also find feng shui and work with various feng shui masters like LuAnn too, in learning different ways that the ancient Chinese learned and recorded and built a big system of how we can create different energies within our home. And as Denise studied this, she thought, I need to teach people this as well. But here's some of the things that weren't covered in those ancient books, right? The ancient books didn't talk about having to bring nature in, because basically the homes then were all made from natural materials. We live very much in conjunction with nature. The other thing it didn't talk about is the things that we have now that are, I'll call it, plaguing our homes. And we have things that are wonderful, like electricity and Wi-Fi and those kinds of things that are beneficial to us, but they're also creating these man-made energies that are not as healthy for us. So we have this whole aspect of unhealthy chemicals, unhealthy wavelengths, unhealthy things in our homes. So in interior alignment, we teach people about this and how to create a healthy home. The other thing that we have in our homes that they didn't have 4,000 years ago is we have clutter, right? They may have had a lot of things that they were storing up for the winter, but that wasn't clutter. We have clutter. We just have a lot of stuff. And this stuff may be holding energy that also isn't healthy or vital for us. And I think Felicia DeHady speaks on clutter in this summit. And so, you might want to check that out, because it's a valid thing. It stops up the energy. It creates stuck energy in our homes, which our homes are a template for our life. And so if it's stuck, if the energy is stuck, if the energy in our body is stuck, that stagnation can be the root of some of our health issues. So this was Denise's journey in creating her feng shui system. It was all rooted in health. And so a piece of feng shui, and many times in many feng shui systems, they will say that color is the most important aspect of feng shui. And there are some feng shui schools out there that will teach color in relationship to this map we call the bagua that we lay over the house. And they'll talk about how it's important to have certain colors in certain areas of the home in order to revitalize those areas of the home. But color is something that we can think about to surround ourselves with at all times, especially when we are going through a challenging healing phase in our life, right? That we want to create more health and vitality. So that's what I want to talk about today. I want to talk about how we can work with color to support our healing process, and whether it's because you're in a cancer journey, if you want to support somebody who's going through this, or you just want to start creating a more healthy vibration around yourself so that maybe you don't have to ever go down the cancer road again. So when I was first learning about feng shui, one of the Chinese masters that I studied with prior to Denise was a very wise man, Jeffrey LuAnn, and he talked about how feng shui is important, right? It's creating the template for a space, but it's not everything. You can have perfect feng shui and your life still might not be perfect. And I wanted to talk about that because I'm not invalidating what I'm about to talk about, but I'm talking about that synergy of using all the modalities that feel right to you. So what he talked about is like if we were thinking about how our life works out in a pie chart, right? What are the influences that how our life can work out? And whether you're thinking about job, relationship, health, any of those things. And we take that pie chart and divide it into three pieces of pie. The first piece of pie is going to be what you were born with, right? What's skills, talents, abilities, what DNA, what body type, all of those things. What were you born with? What did you come into the world with? And in addition to what did you come into the world with, it's kind of like what family tree were you born with, right? What was the DNA gifts or we can look at it as all gifts, right? If we're like looking for the silver lining behind some things. What are those gifts that we came in with? And that's one piece of what dictates your life a bit, right? That's what you came into it with, but that's only a third, right? We've still got 2/3 left. Another third is the environment. This is where feng shui fits in. This is where color, the choices you make, all of that environment that you surround yourself with. So if you have an environment where you are maybe in a home that has a lot of chemicals and that is off-gassing a lot of chemicals from the finishings in the home, and there's chemicals in the cleaning products, and there's a lot of electromagnetic energies and dirty electricity, and there's a lot of Wi-Fi, cell phone signals, and all of those things all of these things cause the body to have to work harder to be healthy. Okay, that's what it causes our body to have to work harder. So in a home like that, and then maybe there's a lot of clutter, maybe there's a lot of disjointed or unsupportive imagery, symbolism, and colors. And then all of those things can work against you, right? So you might have been born with great DNA, super healthy, but then 1/3 of the pie is all of this disabling kind of energy from the environment. Then let's say also environment is what you eat, right? Because that's a part of what the chi is that you're taking in. That's a part of what you're feeding yourself, just the same way you're feeding the light, the sound, the scent of your environment. So that piece, right? Environment. Last piece of the pie, 1/3 of the pie is your action and attitude. What do you choose to do? And what is your frame of mind as you do it? And so you can look at people who were born with a lot of maybe physical challenges in the DNA that they were dealt, in the family situation that they were dealt, in the environment that they were brought up in, but their mind mentally can take them far. So with those three things, let's talk about how we can work with color and apply this. So DNA, right? What did you come into the world with? First thing you want to look at is your own personal coloring. And in the video lecture that I did with LuAnn, we talk about those personal power colors, those personal colors that are your colors for healing, your colors for physical vitality, and your colors, your soul colors for being noticed, for feeling important. And so that's that piece. I'm not going to repeat that piece because I want to talk about now our environmental colors. And it's more than just what's trendy out there in design, because color is more than just what our eyes see. It's more than just what our brain process is as what's around us. Color is a wavelength. In fact, I wanted to share my screen here, and this is a little slide from I think the University of Vermont, but it's what is color, right? And so color, it's defined as when light hits an object and then bounces off that object, we see that those wavelengths that bounced off the object. So in that sense, light, and we think of light maybe when you turn the light on in a room and it looks white, and so we call it white light. But truly, light, or whether it's generated from the light bulb in your room or it's generated from the sun, has a lot of frequencies in it. Now, the ones in our light bulb don't always have all the frequencies unless you have a specific, like, full spectrum light bulb. But when we look at these light waves that come from the sun, there's actually a lot of different wavelengths, like they're wavelengths of energy, little teeny tiny packets of energy. And so what a wavelength means, if you've watched, a wave come in at the beach, right? And they can come in a lot of waves right after each other, or they can come in really slow. Well, what we're looking at here is that we've got ultraviolet, or violet at this end and red at this end in our spectrum. And so what we're talking about is how these waves of energy are coming in. Now, here's the interesting thing. So here's the rainbow that we see, and we think, ta-da, we are seeing all of the wavelengths out there, but we are not, right? If we look continuing, here's our rainbow of light right here, but then it goes into IR, which means infrared. And then it goes on the other end from the violet, it goes into ultraviolet and X-rays and delta rays. And so there's all these different wavelengths out there. But what happens is our eyes, human being eyes, evolved to see just that little narrow window between the red and the violet, right? Every one of those colors has a different degree of wavelength and a different degree of little packets of energy. It's fun to think about. We humans see this, but I know you've heard, like, dogs don't see in all the colors, and, animals don't see in all the colors. It's kind of true because they have a superpower that we don't. For example, cats. Cats see infrared. Now, infrared is a wavelength that has to do with heat, right? I don't know if you've ever seen when they have infrared photography. Maybe you have like a security camera in your home that has infrared, right? That you can look out in the dark and it can see what's going on out there, because it's looking at the body, the kind of the heat spectrum of what's out there. Well, cats can see infrared, right? They don't need a special camera. They just look out and they can see the little warm bodies of the mice and the things that they would like to catch. They can see them. They can see the heat. It's why your cat knows the warmest, nicest spot to lay in the room, because they walk in and they see the warmth in that spot. They see it. We don't see it. They see it. Infrared is a cool spectrum because, well, not cool, it's actually a warm spectrum, but it's kind of fascinating. I'm sure you've heard of far infrared lamps, heat lamps, or far infrared saunas. And there's a lot of research out there, like National Institutes of Health and other places, that have shown that far infrared light is really good at helping with cancer treatment. So you can get in one of these far infrared saunas, and you might expect it to look like the rotisserie chickens at the supermarket, right, where everything looks red. But actually, there's no red light. There's no red light that comes out. There's no light at all that comes off of infrared that we see. But it feels like heat, okay? So there is a heat, and that heat, cancer cells don't survive well in the heat, and the rest of our cells can do okay in it. And so it's a way to work with that. We also tend to think, don't we, that light's out there, light's not here, right? In fact, a lot of times we might think, oh, we're just seeing things with our eyes. But here's the thing, that color wavelength, like let's say the blue behind here, okay? That blue behind there isn't just something I see with my eyes. If I close my eyes, I can guarantee you there's still blue waves coming towards me, and purple and some greens. All of those wavelengths are still coming towards me. They don't just come to my eyes, they come and they bathe my whole body. And as they bathe my body, they don't just maybe touch my skin and bounce off. They actually absorb in. We actually absorb light up to, I've heard, up to 4 inches in some places in our body. So when you think about it, when you think about your arm, well, it's not 4 inches thick. That means that when I go out into the light, that light is not just touching my skin. It's going within me. Okay. So as you think about color, I want you to think about color is just riding on these waves of light. And the color is now kind of a filter from that whole broad spectrum of red to violet to just what was reflected off of something. And that's now that light wave, those waves, those little bits of energy are now coming to you. And so your body is absorbing the light. I know it sounds kind of hokey, doesn't it? However, science knows that this works. I'm sure you've all heard of little babies that are born with jaundice. And what they do with those little babies, right, is they put them under the blue light. The blue light helps their body absorb and reduce that bilirubin that's causing the jaundice. And so science knows that colored light, colors have an effect on our body. There's so many industries out there with animals where they use color light to kind of regulate their reproductive cycles because they know it makes a difference. So it's a real thing. And yet we don't think about colors and the importance of colors when we're decorating our home, or maybe when we're choosing what we're wearing. I can tell you there's another industry that pays a whole lot of attention to color and color meaning, and that is marketing. That is advertising, because not only do they know how it makes our body feel, it knows how it makes us think. So for example, some of the colors that I talked about for health, vitality, for moving around, for physical activity, like reds. Red is really good. It stimulates the muscles. It makes you want to move. It creates that energy, pumps your body up, gets you ready for things. Orange is a color that stimulates all of the juices in our body. It makes our mouth water. It gets our digestion going. So when you think of restaurants, especially chain restaurants, what are some colors that you see a lot of in those restaurants? You might see red because they want you to come in and eat as fast as you can. You see orange, a lot of oranges, because that is going to stimulate you to eat more and more and more, okay? So they know that. It programs our bodies. So why aren't we using the same information when we want to help ourselves? It's because we were never taught, right? And so looking at color now is more than just what our eye sees, but what our whole body feels is a way to step into understanding what can be really good for me and what isn't maybe supportive to me right now. You know, this whole aspect of color and our body sensing it in the Soviet Union, or maybe they were Russia at the time. I get confused on when they were what. About 20 or 25 years ago, they did some experiments with people who had been blind from birth. And what they did is they asked them to feel color. Okay. And the way they did this is they had different papers, okay, a red paper, a green paper, a blue paper, a yellow paper. And they asked them to hold their hands not on the paper, but above the paper. And they would shine, they'd have light in the room, and the light would hit the paper and then bounce off the paper and bounce the yellow color up, bounce the blue color up. And they trained them to be able to feel the difference. And after a short time, they were actually able to say blue paper, green paper, red paper. And not only could they sense it on the color, but then they could sense it in the environment too. They could sense when it was a red wall, a blue wall. They could feel what color they were wearing. They had to train for it, but here's the thing. Because they were blind, a lot of people who are blind, their other senses kind of pick up. So their other senses were there and ready for it. I will tell you that you can do the same thing for yourself. I've had groups of feng shui students that I've had here training for a week, and I want them to know that color has a feeling. This is an advanced feng shui course. And so we have the Color Olympics, where all week long, people take some time to put their hands over top pieces of paper, feel the colors, and then at the end of the week, they're blindfolded, and they have to guess out of 10 times what those colors are. And here's the thing. They all score way higher than 50%. I've had people who've gotten 100% on that. And there's no cheating, because not only are they blindfolded, but I don't put the papers in front of them. I put them behind them so they can't see them at all. So we can be sensitive to color. It's just we don't generally tune into it. And so we don't think about what those colors are doing to us, right, from our environment. So let's talk a little bit about what those colors do. We've already talked about red, right? The importance of red in making us feel as strong and active and powerful as we can be. That makes it good for those things. Where red can be a challenge, though, is in a room where you are trying to rest and relax and heal. And so if your bedroom has a lot of red, as you're going through a healing journey, I want you to switch out as much of that red as possible. Or if that's too exhausting for you, choose another room that doesn't have a lot of red. Sometimes it can be easier to switch the red out if it's not painted on the walls, right? If it's in your sheets and your comforter and your curtains, those are all things that can be removed for right now. So it's not that red is a bad color, but it's not restful, right? What happens is you go in to lay down, and there's all of this red energy that's about get up, move, get up, go. And when our body is in that get up and go phase, it's not in the healing phase, right? It's not relaxed and sending those healing energies. So thinking about how you might reduce the red in your environment can be useful. Now, let's say that you're having a challenge where you're cold all the time. Well, then it could be useful to bring in some red socks, some red jammies, right? That you might wear to help keep you warm, because red will do that. But you need to think of the balance, right? Are you getting a good night's sleep? Are you sleeping deeply? If you're too cold to sleep, then bring on the red in something like pajamas or sheets. But if you're not sleeping well and you're not healing well, then reduce the red. Orange. How can orange be useful in your healing journey? Well, as Ted talked about, and as you know, there's a lot of challenges when people are going through the cancer journey with not feeling hungry and not eating enough, and actually having severe implications for not eating enough. And so how can we encourage our body to want to feel hungry? It can be really tough, but the color orange is a color that stimulates the digestive system. So something that you might want to integrate is maybe finding orange plates, orange placemats, maybe the room that you eat in, maybe adding some orange. And if you go, oh, I hate the color orange, think of the whole spectrum, everything from pumpkin to peach, right? Everything in that is something that is a digestive stimulant. Okay, so it doesn't have to be super bright either. If you think of those paint cards where it's the darkest on the one side and the lightest on the other, well, maybe what you can stomach is the lightest color, right? And so think about, how can I create more of this juicy orange kind of color in a space where I'm taking in my nutrition to stimulate my appetite? Maybe you even think of, maybe I'm going to wear some orange clothes. Maybe you find a cool orange sweatshirt, right? That is like, I'm going to stimulate my digestion in this. Maybe you're like, oh, I don't like how I look in orange. Underwear counts. Maybe you're just going to get some orange underwear, because even though nobody else is seeing it, that wavelength of orange is there. Another way that you can bring these colors in, especially personally, is through jewelry, right? And that jewelry can be actual gemstones. In fact, in the Middle Ages, there was a whole branch of medicine called lapidary medicine, where they would use rocks and crystals and gemstones as a way to support healing. That could be a whole other thing to talk about. But if we think about it just in general, you could even choose stones that have an orange or peachy kind of color to support that. And maybe you have some jewelry that you want to just continually stimulate your body to have that digestive juice, right, that you need to take in the nutrition that you need to take in. Okay. So let's continue up the rainbow. Yellow is a color that stimulates the nervous system. This is a color that I might be really cautious with during your cancer journey, because quite frankly, you might not need your nervous system stimulated anymore, right? Nervous system stimulation can be great if somebody's feeling really lethargic or really disempowered, because it is a color that kind of juices what we call your solar plexus chakra, that part of you that is like, I can do this. And that piece is good, but maybe work with maybe not a fluorescent bright yellow, but maybe like golden tan kind of colors that are also have an earthy groundedness to them, and not maybe as much of a nervous system stimulant. The next color I'm going to talk about is when we move up into our green colors, and green is for our heart chakra. A lot of times when people think about our heart, they think about, oh, that has to be maybe red roses, or maybe that is pink, right? And pink can be a color that is supportive to be nurturing and caring, but actually green is the color associated with heart chakra. And green is the most powerful color for growth and vitality and health. In Feng Shui, when we look at the areas associated with health, we call that wood or plant energy, and it's represented by greens and blues. And so if you really are looking at, how do I support my physical body with health and vitality, then we want to look at, how can we incorporate more greens and blues into your environment? I'm going to recommend your bedroom, right? That's where most of your healing occurs. That's when we're when we are nestled in at night, our body is sleeping, it goes into that healing mode. And even though the lights are off, the wavelengths of green and blue have flooded that room all day. And there's a slight vibration of it there still at night in the dark. So think about, do I need to bring in some green sheets or blue sheets? Do I need to change out my comforter? Maybe looking at the artwork in the room and bringing in more peaceful nature scenes, because nature is very, very healing. Even when we see nature, even if we're not in nature, when we see it, it evokes a healing, relaxed response in our body. So shift out the artwork, bring in nature scenes, bring in your greens and blues. Those cause the body to shift into a balanced kind of response within the body and a relaxed response. Blue actually causes us to breathe more deeply, right? It's one of those things we don't think about it, but when you're in a blue space, your body all of a sudden just starts to take deeper, slower breaths. So that is all great with relaxation. That's all great for reducing the stimulation within our body and allowing us to go into that healing response. So those greens and blues are perfect for that bedroom space. Now, some people go, all right, well then what about purple, right? Purple is that highest color, the color of the crown chakra in our chakra systems. It's our spiritual connection. Purple's not actually as restful or as healing, right? Purple actually has a pretty higher vibration energetically to it, because we are connecting in to that spirit realm. We are connecting into the realm of energy. Now, it could be great if you are creating a space that you're going to meditate in, or you're going to do some energy work like some qigong in, because it allows us to tap into that energy. And so that can be supportive when you create that space, but I wouldn't use it in your bedroom space, right? Every colors have its place. That can be useful, but some are more useful in some places than others. So those are kind of running through that spectrum that relate to our energy system, our chakra system. But there are other colors out there, right? Like there's white, there's black, there's brown, there's gray, there's pink. So let's talk about some of these other colors and why they can be a little bit of a challenge. White and gray in feng shui are considered what we call metal, like gold, silver, metal energy. And metal energy is about focus and concentration and pulling inward. And that's a great energy for use in some places. However, in feng shui, we talk about how there's 5 elements, and each of those 5 elements has friends within the elements, and they have not so great friends. So our health and vitality energy is our wood energy. It's greens, it's blues, right? Light blues. And that's about growth and vitality. Metal energy is whites and grays. And its energy fights with our wood plant. In fact, what we say is metal chops down wood. And if you think about it, yeah, it does. A big sharp metal axe will go out and chop down a tree. Your lawnmower and its metal blade will cut the grass. That metal chops the wood energy. So many homes now have been decorated with grays and whites, right? And great for focus and concentration and looking minimal and clean, right? It has all of those vibrations, and it can have an energy of creativity. It can have an energy, if you think of a big white canvas, anything's possible, right? It's not a bad energy, but it's not the most healing of energies. And so if your home has a lot of white in it, try to think of, how can I bring in more green? How can I bring in more blue? And I can tell you, if you're going through a cancer journey, you're not like probably feeling up to painting everything. But here's some cool things that you can do with an all white space that are pretty easy. Okay. One is bring in some more plants, right? Maybe you buy yourself some fresh flowers every week at the grocery store. Maybe you bring in some more longer lived house plants that will do a couple things for you. They'll bring in that green, they'll bring in that healthy growth, vitality energy. They'll also clean the air in your home. So if you were having challenges with maybe some chemicals or some off-gassing of things in your home, those plants clean the air. So you could bring in some actual plants to do that. But another easy thing, and I know you guys have seen these, are the light bulbs that are programmable, that you could get light bulbs that will do any array of colors. And you can actually go and get, green light bulbs too, and put them in a lamp and turn that on, and your room will have green light in it, and it won't be so white anymore. It'll be green. But what's cool about these programmable ones is you don't have to switch out the bulb all the time, right? You put that bulb in, it might even be an app on your smartphone. It might have come with a little remote. And you're like, all right, I want to bathe myself in some green light. I want to turn on my health and vitality. You hit the green button and your room now is green. It doesn't have to stay green. When you're done with that, you can turn it back on to regular white light and appreciate the design that you created with white. But it's a way to bring in more of this green without having to buy a lot of things or change your decor, especially when you're not feeling it. What are some other colors? Black. Black is what we call yin energy. It's the ultimate feminine energy in terms of I'm not talking about women per se. I'm talking about that definition of yin energy is about being receptive, about being open to receive. It's not about taking action. It's about restfulness. It's about going deep. And so there are aspects of feng shui where they will say that too much yin energy is bad. However, if you need to rest, you might think about, how can I bring some more black into my space to allow me to step into that aspect of being open to receive, being relaxed into knowing that I'm ready to accept my healing, my abundance, right? It's embodying that energy of yin. Yang energy, or yang energy, depending on who your Chinese teacher is that active, what they might call more male energy. And it's about taking action on things. And taking action can be really important. But the balance of that's stepping into that restful acceptance, not in a bad way, in like, I am accepting everything positive to come my way. That can be a really powerful energy to step into. Let's talk about pink. Pink is an energy. You might think, well, it's like red. It's a lighter red. But it actually has its whole kind of different energy around it. It doesn't have as much of the warmth and the body stimulant in the same way that red does. It actually stimulates a feeling of self-nurturing and self-love. So it's not just love of others, but it's self-love. And here's the thing, you need to be wrapping yourself in this huge, wonderful blanket of self-love right now. And so bringing some pink into your life could be a great way to do that. It might be through the clothing you wear. It might be a special blankie that you put on you, right? But as you wear it, well, as you are honoring yourself with this pink, then you're acknowledging that I am worth it. I love me, and I am worth every step that I need to go through. All of these different modalities I'm trying, everything that I am shifting my life to bring some discipline in, to do this and do that and do this and do that. I'm doing it because I love myself enough to do it. The last color I want to talk about are the brown colors. And brown might not be anybody's favorite color, but it can be for me because I love my chocolate. Okay, so Brown is what we call earth energy, and it's about being grounded and supported and stable. And so again, when we're looking at, if you have a home that is mostly brown, then you might have too much stagnation going on. But if you have a home that is all white, then you might need to add some of this brown groundedness to be of support to you. I've talked about a lot of colors, and I've talked about a lot of ideas on how you might incorporate these colors in. On my website, innerharmonyschool.com, you can find, I have enrichment courses that you can take that talk more about feng shui, that talk more about crystals, but there's one specifically on color. It's a 4-hour course that talks more deeply about color, if this is something that has really excited you. If nothing else, I hope it's allowed you to think about how color is more than what we see. It's more than just a decoration. It is something that our body is taking in, and it's something that can affect how our body feels and works. It's one of the tools that you can use in creating a healthy and vibrant life for yourself. I would love to keep in touch with you. When you go to my website, innerharmonyschool.com or LuAnnCivic.com, but that can be harder to spell. So innerharmonyschool.com. I would love if you signed up for my newsletter. I don't bother people every day, but I do send out tips and information. And on there, you also will find a link to my YouTube channel where I do little videos on different things like healthy homes, how to measure for EMFs, all sorts of fun things. The EMFs are not fun things, but other things are fun things. All right. It has been a joy to connect with you. Many blessings, many miracles to you in this journey for you and your loved ones. And I wish you well. Take care. Bye-bye.